really what I want to get into the meat of is understanding giving circles. So, Jacob, you have applied for and won 4 grants for giving circles. Now, I was just talking to an esteemed executive director the other day who said, well, what is a giving circle? So can you start with just framing what is a giving circle? And then what was your experience with them?
Yeah. So, philanthropy has been around for, decades. And in terms of like innovation around philanthropy, not much has changed. You basically have organizations that are trying to solve problems that society has created. And we're trying to do it on shoestring budgets with no aspirations to gain a profit, where we're kind of always kind of nickel and diming things. So that's kind of the world of nonprofits and the world of philanthropy. And philanthropy has the complete opposite situation where they've gained all their fortune off of profits and off of sometimes like creating these problems that we're trying to fix, And so this very archaic kind of structure. And I think what Giving Circles does is, how do we kind of shift the way we do philanthropy, and how do we be innovative, and how do we put some of that power back into the hands of the people? And so it's, all of us as individuals, we figure out how do we collectively pool the resources that we do have the luxury of giving, and how do we pull that collectively so we can have bigger impact on nonprofits. And so giving circles are just a collection of individuals, and the giving circles that I have pitched to are been the Latinos in Tech Giving Circle. So these are all individuals that have are in tech, that are Latinos, and can all contribute to a pool of funds, and then they make decisions on how they're going to grant out those funds again. And so for me as a nonprofit, I was privileged to be invited to put a proposal in front of the Giving Circle. They accepted it, and then they invited me to come in and give a pitch. And so I stood in front of this collection of at the time, it's about 15 individuals. And I shared the story like I just shared with you about the nest and the impact they're trying to have in the world. And then I was fortunate that they decided to grant me some of the funds that they pulled together.
Awesome. Well, congrats.
Thank you.
Tell me, what's the best way to pitch your nonprofit to a Giving Circle?
Yeah, these are often people who have come through the same like lived experience of the people you're trying to serve. So there's Giving Circles, like for mine, for example, that I pitched to these are all Latinos who had made it in the tech industry. And I'm sharing a story about how I'm trying to help Latinos get to where they're at. And so being able to relate to them, you often find Giving Circles like geographically as well. So there'll be maybe like a San Francisco Bay Giving Circle. And so if you're a nonprofit serving the San Francisco Bay, sharing that story of like what the clients that you're working with, their experience and how it relates to the people in the Giving Circle. So that's definitely an approach, like make the people in the Giving Circle relatable. Make them to relate to your organization and your cause. And, stories, like I shared that story of that young woman, like we all have seen people like that who have struggled to get the tools. And maybe they were at one point going through college or trying to make it through high school or trying to make it into their career, and they couldn't afford internet, right? So sharing stories, trying to make people relate to the people that you work with. But then also come prepared, because there's always those people in the room that are asking about data and finance and outcomes and how you're doing financially and who's on your board and who else do you have working with you. And you got to be prepared for the chance of those questions. But stories, and I think the first thing you need to really be to do.
And how would you say, what do you prefer? Is it a Giving Circle pitch or is it a grant proposal?
Well, they're different, and it's also like your strength. So writing a grant proposal could be a big undertaking, depending on the funding that you're going after and the type of foundation that you're approaching. And so you could be putting all these resources into writing a grant proposal, and you might be competing with a bunch of other organizations, and you may or may not get it. So, but if your strengths are writing, like maybe that's what you do. Me personally, like I feel like I'm pretty good with building relationships and connecting with people. So uh, I love being in front of that group and pitch. Um, and I like connecting and seeing people face to face and sharing stories, and I think they uh, could get a read on me as well. And it's hard to do that through writing and through a proposal, because so often it's just very stale, and you're answering very specific questions, and depending on your writing skills, can you write and can you convey that passion through writing? So it's a little tougher. But I think there's also people that probably get a little stage fright presenting and speaking in public. So I think it's all dependent on who you are.
I really like the personal presentation too, because I feel like I can read a room and I can, point out, I can find ways of connecting with people that are unique in the moment that make it feel special. And I feel like I can hook attention. But during COVID, so much harder to build rapport. How have you been adjusting in order to, stay connected and build rapport and be part of how do you persuade your audience virtually?
Yeah, it's been a challenge. I mean, I think for everybody, right? Fortunately, I think philanthropy has loosened a bit in terms of the way that they grant money out, and they should. Like, you always hear like philanthropy talk about keeping money in the reserves for the rainy day or for the big emergency. Well, we're in it,
Yeah.
and so it's time to open up that vault and like get that money out. Get the money out. We're probably never going to see another period of time. Hopefully, we'll never see that period of time where there's just so much need. So there's no reason right now to be holding on to that money and like for a rainy day, because the rainy day has come, and it's going to be a year. It's been raining on us for a year. So um, uh, so fortunately, I think philanthropy responded, a lot of philanthropy, and kind of loosened up their approach. But then outside of that, like, how do we stay connected? And when people are kind of done with Zoom, and people are kind of done with like the situation that we're all in, but I think we did this event, like a live event on Facebook to connect with our donors and connect with folks, and we, kind of make it fun and creative, and we've been doing lots of mailers, and we mailed out a bunch of coasters to our donors with that had our logo on it, and because they're probably at home and having a cup of coffee or something on their desk, and they probably could use a coaster, so
I like that idea. Yeah, I
so
think snail mail and like tangible things, that's coming back.
Yeah, and I think we're all kind of excited to like see what's in the mail today, and what packages arrive, because it seems like Amazon is dropping off a package at my house every day, or something. But so I think there's ways that we connected before through snail mail and through phone calls, and you don't have to do a Zoom. You could pick up the phone and have a conversation with people, and I think we still try to find ways to do that.
Yeah, I definitely am digging the walking meetings these days. Saying, hey, love you, I want to see you, but I just don't want to be on the screen, so I'm going to walk and we can talk on the phone. The old school way.
That's right.
And I want to give a shout out to Jen and David Risher, who did Half My Death initiative, which is trying to encourage donor advised funds to spend down their funds and to start activating funds today. They're going to do another round in 2021. So just shout out to Half My Death, hashtag that, and check it out online for you, Jacob, and for other nonprofits to look at how you might connect with donor advised funds as they're encouraged by leaders like them to start spending and start supporting the organizations now as we are in this crisis, and it continues, and it just continues to have twists and turns every day, it seems, even though I do feel there's hope and there's light at the end of the tunnel.
With this latest valuable episode, we'd love to thank you for joining us on the Creating Community for Good podcast. If you found today's show valuable, simply visit our website, creatingcommunityforgood.com, to leave a review as well as to get access to additional resources and relevant links from this show. Stay tuned for more episodes.